Hello friends, welcome to the official YouTube page of Everest IAS Academy. So today we are going to discuss February 9, 2020 Hindi newspaper analysis from the UPSC Prelims 2020 point of view. So the first article which came in the headlines is Modi flags Tamil concerns to Mahinda Rajapaksa. So recently friends, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has actually visited. So as part of that negotiations, even our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has requested the Sri Lankan government actually to consider the 13th amendment. So that was actually signed during 1987 itself as part of a peace accord which was signed between India as well as the Sri Lankan government during that time period, which speaks about giving devolution of powers. So especially to the autonomous powers has to be given to the northeastern region of Sri Lanka, so where especially the Srilankantamilissue are living. So let's go and discuss this article in detail friends, as well as we also study the historical evolution, how the LTTE came into origin, and then what is the scope now for the peace agreement, each and everything we will discuss friends. So as part of that, the Sri Lankan Prime Minister has also requested India to consider, because India has already promised it will actually provide a line of credit of 400 million. So basically friends, we should understand what is this line of credit. So basically what is line of credit means, so India has actually promised that it will actually give $400 million to the Sri Lankan government. So it is a kind of difference from the loan, because now what happens is that this they would have promised, suppose let's for example in 1 year we will be giving 400 million, means Sri Lankan government during this 1 year it can access this amount of loan 400 million from India, and it can be used for any infrastructural projects. Now the big difference is what happens is that it is up to the Sri Lankan government to either utilize the full amount at one go, or it can even take partially from India also, but whatever amount it is taking, it has to pay the interest rate to India, and this 400 million will be given in US dollars only. So this is as part of the agreement. Already we know friends, Sri Lanka is suffering from huge debt crisis because of large scale Chinese based loans which he got for the infrastructural development, and it is still in a much more bad situation to repay all the interest amounts whichever it has got. So it has actually, as of now, it has requested Indian government to consider the situation. And one more thing is, as our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has requested to consider the Sri Lankan government to implement this 13th amendment to the constitution. So this has been signed during 1987 itself, as we have told. So now what happens is that this 13th amendment, once it is implemented, it will give autonomous and devolution of powers, especially to the northeastern provinces, in which especially Sri Lankan Tamils are in majority. Okay, but what the visiting Sri Lankan Prime Minister's answer to that is, we will actually consider, he has not given a firm commitment to India. That is one major problem, because what he has told is very indirectly, we will consider, because shortly we are going to conduct provincial elections for the northeastern provinces and Sri Lanka also. During that time period, whichever government or whichever leader is getting elected, we will come and we will sit and have a negotiation with them. This is actually the status of Sri Lankan government. So in addition to that friends, we know Sri Lankan government, especially this Rajapaksa government, is very closer to Chinese government actually. So now what happens is that it is actually now requesting India to consider some actually infrastructural projects, especially housing projects and also oil terminal, in which India has actually partnership with Japan to develop that project, especially in Colombo's eastern port. These are the two projects which Sri Lankan government is requesting India to implement it on a faster scale. But if you see friends, there are already two more projects which India has committed and which has been cancelled by the current government once it came into being. Those are one is in the Trikonamale, that is in the oil port, second is that Matala port. So these two ports are considered to be very crucial from the strategic point of view, but due to Chinese concerns, Sri Lankan government has cancelled the project. That's what India is very skeptical on developing this housing project and oil terminal in Colombo. So let's go and study friends how all this ethnic conflict came into being. Means basically Sri Lanka, it got independence from our British only in 1948. So within a time period, within immediately once they got independence, what they did is that the Sinhalese population were in majority, they were around 82% of the population. So what they did is that they actually went and actually disenfranchised, which means the voting rights for the Tamil migrant population, especially the plantation workers, were taken off. So they were unable to vote, and even what they did is that they have made Sinhalese as the only official language, although there are various ethnic communities which were living in Sri Lanka. because in that order Tamils are in the second ethnic largest minority, but they didn't consider that and all. So this actually created some rift between the communities. If you see in this picture, it will be very clear, friends. This green picture indicates the Sinhalese population, who are the majority in Sri Lankan areas, and this central yellow color it indicates that especially the Tamil plantation workers. Basically, friends, there is a difference between Sri Lankan Tamils and these Tamil plantation workers, only with respect to the history only. These northeastern people, they went during the historical evolution only, long time they were actually residing in Sri Lanka only. But these plantation workers who are actually working in tea plantation, they were actually taken on recruitment during the British time period only. So that time actually the British wanted the Indian laborers to work in the central provinces, tea plantations. So they later settled in those areas only. They are actually called as Indian Tamils, and those who occupy the northeastern region, especially this orange color indicates the northeastern Tamils. Basically the majority clusters are in the northeastern provinces only, and other minority communities Sri Lankan Moors. So this is the conflict, friends. Since this Tamil majority, ethnic minority, they are in the second largest population, still this Sri Lankan government went on intensified the thing, because after a point of time in 1972, they renamed the country from Sri Lanka to Ceylon. And in addition, what happened is that, like, they have renamed it from Ceylon to Sri Lanka. That was the name change. In addition, Buddhism was made as the only state's nation's primary religion. So this discriminated and irritated the already settled Tamil population. So what they did is that they went and created especially a LTTE group in 1976. This has been majorly formed by the leadership of Prabhakaran. So he was a leader who was responsible for creating this organization. But although it has been, what it has done is that it went and targeted especially the Sinhalese people and government in particular. It attacked the Sri Lankan army. So that time what happened is that in 1983 only, it killed many of the army persons. Later in, when the problem got intensified, so that time actually our Indian government wanted to protect especially the Tamil plantation workers, who are not that much actually involved in the turbulence, ethnic conflict, which has been initiated by LTTE organization. So now what happened is that during the time period of 1987, our Indian government, so that was during the time period of Rajiv Gandhi government period. So actually from India they went and sent a peacekeeping mission, and we also signed a peace accord. This has been signed in 1987 only, during the time period of Rajiv Gandhi government. That time only we have actually requested the Sri Lankan government to go for 13th constitutional amendment, and they also actually went and changed the constitution only. So this 13th constitutional amendment only talks about giving devolution of powers, autonomous powers to the state provinces, and in turn Tamil will be recognized as the national language of the state. So this is the position. But till now, if you see, friends, this agreement they have signed in 1987 only. Till there has been almost 33 years. So now it is 2020. So till these 33 years, they have not even, there has not been even a single progress on this peace accord front. That's why this LTT got irritated, and it has it went and attacked especially a lot of Sri Lankan Sinhalese people, suicidal bomb attacks, and even various child soldiers were used in the attack as a suicidal attacks. So during 1997 only, US government has officially declared it as a terrorist organization. Then what happened when the conflict became intensified, and lot of, especially because although in the northeastern province, LTT organization only it was responsible for creating these terrorist related activities, there are a lot of the northeastern Tamil people who are actually not involved in the conflict. They got actually injured during this conflict, and they got affected. That time actually Norwegian government only, it acted as an intermediary between the Sri Lankan government and LTT organization, and they actually signed a ceasefire agreement also during 2002. But within a matter of they were able to keep up only for 3 years, because in 2005 only actually what happened, LTT went and assassinated the Sri Lankan foreign minister, and it intensified the problem. So now what happened during the time period of 2008, officially the Sri Lankan ministers, they started telling that there is no use in making any peace deals with LTTE, because they are very much serious about only violent related protest, and they are actually causing a lot of destruction of properties and life to the people. So during that time period, especially in 2009 time period, they went and actually full scale state war-like scenario has been launched on the LTTE, and they were actually rooted out, and even the leader of the LTTE organization, Prabhakaran, actually he died in that especially the last stage of the war. So this is the status, friends. This is what the condition is now. But after the war also, there has not been any progressive development in the northeastern provinces. Still lack of development is there. Many of the people are in a home arrest situation. They have not been given even like a right to move out of the house. So lot of restrictions have been happening. So for that actually like India is now concerned about that. That's why our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi has underlined that peace accord which we have signed in 1987 under the 13th Constitutional Amendment to consider, so that they will consider and they will devolve the especially the autonomous province. Under that also they should create Tamil as the language of the state, autonomous provinces whichever they are creating. Next article is West Bengal growing arsenic resistant ice. Friends, if you know, in India basically West Bengal is one of the actually like states which has been having the highest concentration of arsenic even in groundwater only. Now the biggest problem is what happens is that, so whatever food items which are grown in the Western Bengal region, they also in the while the plants are consuming water, the arsenic impurities actually they affect they are actually intaken by even the plants also, and in turn when human consume these groundwater as well as the crop which has been cultivated under this arsenic contaminated soil, they will actually cause various cancer diseases, and even it will lead to poisoning and skin cancer will arise. That's why recently due to the scientist efforts they went and developed actually a special rice variety, especially through they have actually went for this various tissue culture technology, and they were able to develop with the help of biotechnology a new rice variety that is called as Muktoshri. So this has been named as IET 21845. So this rice variety is actually now it is taking intake of this arsenic from the soil is comparatively lesser. That's why it's considered to be much safer. Next article is keep agricultural dairy products out of trade deal with US. Basically this article comes in the backdrop of RCEP only. So friends, we have discussed about RCEP yesterday only. Friends, those who have missed yesterday's video, kindly go and see that video. Basically RCEP consists of as of now it is only 15 member countries. Previously there were 16 member countries, that is ASEAN plus 6. So ASEAN, this can be classified into ASEAN plus 3 and then ASEAN plus 6, that is two groups we can say. That is ASEAN plus 3 countries refers to those countries which are north of India, apart from Association of Southeast Asian Nations in which there are 10 member countries. Those 3 countries are China, Japan and South Korea, whereas another 3 countries in ASEAN plus 6 are Australia, New Zealand and India. So this is the organization group. So what happened is that during the last summit, that is the third RCP meeting which happened in Nonthombari in Thailand region. So during that time what happened, India went and attended the meeting, and it has actually came out of that grouping itself, saying that because they were actually about to sign a free trade agreement, in that India is very much concerned due to because reduction in tariffs, already there is a lot of dumping is happening from Chinese side, and this in turn will affect the domestic like especially our indigenous industries, saying that India has actually came out of that organization. So like that, the same scenario, actually the farmers groups across the India are requesting the Indian government to consider to US country also, because now as we know friends, within this month actually like US President Trump is actually expected to visit India. During the time period, India and USA they are actually looking for some landmark agreements. So as part of that agreements, US is actually pressurizing India to open the agricultural sector, especially for its major crops like corn, cotton, soybean, wheat and nuts, in which US is considered to be a leader in all these varieties. In addition to that friends, US is also famous for its dairy related products. So when all these products, if they have been imported, means US government is giving a lot of subsidies to these farmers already. So in the domestic front, and when these products are actually imported by India, means our domestic farmers will be affected. So that's why the farmers groups actually staged a protest, and in turn requested the Prime Minister to consider the interest of small and farmers, marginal farmers interest, such that they should cancel, the Indian government should cancel this agreement whatever they are looking for. Next article is reservation in promotion in public post not a fundamental right. Friends, already know in our constitution we have article 16(4)(a) and then one more article is 16(4)(b). This talks about reservation for SCs, STs in case of promotions. So basically this was inserted as part of the constitutional amendment only. So now what is the condition means, there has been a petition which has been filed which actually asked the Supreme Court to consider that the state government actually is not fully implementing the reservation in promotions. For that, what the Supreme Court has actually replied is that the state government is actually not bound to make reservations because this is not a fundamental right. Although it has been inserted as a fundamental right under the constitution, it is up to the states who have the liberty to choose, because they have some criteria. Because when these SC/ST peoples are given reservation in promotion, means the state should have a criteria that there is actually an in the opinion of the state, those communities are not adequately represented in the state. That's the first condition. Second condition, they have to get a satisfaction when such a people are appointed in the administration. Administration efficiency has to increase, and they have to be listed as backward communities. So these are the criteria, and it is up to the state to follow. That's why Supreme Court in this judgment has made it very clear, this is not going to be considered as a fundamental right under the constitution, and we cannot pressurize the state government to implement the reservation in promotions for SCs and STs. Next article is utilize shift in orders from virus hit China. Textile exporters urged. So basically friends, we know in case of China, especially Wuhan province was the hub or epicenter for this coronavirus which originated, and it is expanding to full of China. Now only more than 700 people have actually died as part of coronavirus infection in China. So as part of that virus infection, even lot of business communities are suffered, especially the leaders who are running the business. So there is a vacuum which has arisen in the international market for our textile related products, because what happened is that as of now other countries were looking upon China as for these textile related products for importing from China. But now since there is a vacuum which is happening in international market, many of these actually these agencies who are actually importing from other countries, they are actually now considering India to export these products, textile products. So this is the situation. As part of that, this Confederation of Textile Industry, that person has actually, what he has requested is that India should capitalize on this front, because we are having only one competition nearby, that is Bangladesh, who is having a sound technical skill in garment products. But the problem is they don't have the raw material which they need to import, especially the cotton from China only, and they already got affected now. So for India now the condition is safer, because from the raw material to the end global value chain, unskilled laborers, we have the full complete global value chain in India only. So it is very easy for India to capitalize on this market. Next article is what is the debate around reserve osmosis water. Friends, this we have already discussed. Previously there was an NGT order which actually this has been raised by Delhi Jal Board through a petition, saying that already according to BS standards 500 to 1000 milligram milligram TDS is considered in water, in tapped water in the cities of Delhi is that is what we are actually supplying to the people, and this is in confirmation with BSI standards, and there is no need for any reverse osmosis plants, because they are actually ending up wasting most of the water. So when this petition was filed, NGT also given a decision favoring the Delhi Jal Board and saying that reverse osmosis plants should be actually banned in those places where the tapped water actually meets the BIS standard criteria. So this is a problem, and recently even from our government, our environmental minister has given a notification to implement this decision. So that's what this article is all about. But the problem is, friends, as per the survey which has been conducted by Department of Consumer Affairs, they themselves have told that in case of India, most of the states actually they didn't conform with whatever we get through Delhi Jal Board or whatever that state government, whatever they supply, the tapped water, municipal waters are not in conformity with BIS standards in majority of India. So as of now, we have to only look for the Jal Jeevan mission, which the government is actually planning to do. In that, it is actually planning to provide tapped water to the entire country within a matter of 4 years from now. So this has been our visionary scheme. So our government should actually, as of now, it should not compromise on the quality of the water, tapped water in the country, because we are not now supplying BIS standard water. That's what this article is saying. So we should, in the meantime, we should promote only reserve osmosis in the medium term. Next article is how bats harbour several harmful viruses without falling sick. Basically, friends, what happened is that the bats actually this from the bats only we got this disease, coronavirus, one category, that is a SARS. Even that bats only actually it hosts a varieties of diseases like Ebola, Nipah, and then even like coronavirus like SARS, MERS, all these originated from bats only. So bats, it has a host of virus of all these disease causing viruses. But the thing is, what the scientists are very curious means how the bats are not getting affected means what they are able to find means bats actually avoid this excessive virus related inflammation, because in humans what happens means when they get these viruses means our immune system will actually go on work on a larger scale. So during that time period what happens means if it works properly, it can actually control the virus disease. So it can actually destroy the virus borne organism. But if it goes excessively means it will actually cause age related diseases, and inflammatory response also will become very problematic in future. So in case of bats, what is happening means the inflammatory response only, it is very much dampened, it is getting dormant. That's why actually like they were able to hold host of lot of virus diseases, and in turn it is also healthier. Next article is basmati rice genome sequencer. Friends, we have already discussed a separate video about human genome sequencing as well as this plant varieties genome sequencing. Friends, those who wanted to like understand those basic concepts can go to our playlist. In that we have a separate current affairs issues in depth. In that playlist you can see indigen project. In that we have discussed about human genome processing in very much detail, so you can refer that. But in this article what it is about is, recently scientists with the help of this genome sequencing, they have actually mapped the complete genome sequencing of 2 basmati varieties. One is drought resistant and as well as resistance to bacterial diseases. Another one is actually having a aromatic, it's like the fragrance is very good. So these are the 2 varieties. One variety actually that is a Pakistani variety which is drought resistant and resistant to bacteria, whereas Iran variety is actually famous for aromatic fragrance. So India has actually developed now, scientists from India, the human genome sequencing, not human genome sequencing, plant genome sequencing for the 2 total varieties of rice. So the main advantage is now what happens means, inside the rice crop, if you see friends, total genes are sequenced. So that is like, if you see friends, adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosines are the actually like that nucleotides arrangement. That is how they sequence the order. When this complete sequence order is done means, now there are so many advantages, because among these 2 varieties we can able to trace which particular especially gene is responsible for this drought tolerant or bacterial resistant disease. That one gene we will actually gene marking can be done. That is called as genetic marker. And one more good advantage is that suppose a crop is actually developing a diseases means, which genes are able to like getting easily infected by the diseases means, those genes we can remove. And there are some genes which are responsible in some plants like this variety from Pakistan which is having drought resistant and resistance to bacteria. Those genes we can mark and we can insert in a healthy rice variety. This is the advantage friends of developing a genetic genome sequencing. So through this we can inculcate that characteristics trait in Indian variety itself. Through that we can control the especially the diseases in rices, as well as we can make it drought tolerant and even aromatic fragrance can be developed. So this is the main advantage friends. Thank you friends, kindly subscribe to our channel. If you have any doubts, please post your doubts in the comment section.